The name of our team is Impact Value because there was no Planet B. And I want to tell you a story, a very true story that happened to me in 1976. There was an earthquake in Italy, and I was in Italy at the time. Many people were killed, many people were injured. Over 157,000 people were left homeless, and there were a lot of hungry orphans. We organized donations from the Norwegian churches, and we got a lot of pasta, because that's what the kids liked. And we had these tents, we put the pasta in the tents, and every morning, I don't want to mention his name, but he was very famous in Italy at the time. You think you know how to make smart contracts? This guy really knew how to make smart contracts. And he took the food, put it on a truck, drove 90 kilometers south to the port of Trieste, leaving those 157,000 people very cold, and a lot of kids were very, very hungry. And the generous people of Norway just basically said where's the ROI? Where's the return on our investment? Where's the impact? Why? Why is this happening? Basically, because it wasn't public, okay? The stakeholders, the earthquake victims, were not allowed to play a role at all. There was no decentralization at all. The distribution of the food, the victims' network did not operate. There was no transparency whatsoever. And it was not permissionless. And of course, you didn't want to get permission from this guy. And there was no trustlessness at all. No trust whatsoever. So just basically do the math. If you have, it's not public, it's not decentralized, there's no transparency, it's not permissionless, it's not trustfulness, what do you get? There's no blockchain. And if there's no blockchain, then there's no kin. And if there's no kin, then there's absolutely no possibilities whatsoever to verify impact data that those poor 157,000 hungry kids actually got the pasta. No proofs that can be tokenized and recorded as digital assets and traded and allowed to increase in value. So basically, the United Nations tried to solve this problem. They set up something which was called the 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals. They basically took all these goals and how we can make the world a better place, not pollution, and not have poverty, not have hunger. And the question is how can KIC be involved to try to achieve these goals and to prove that these goals really have impact? So basically, you realize that there's a lot of hungry kids in these worlds, right, today? And these kids, with the hunger, it's affecting their brain, it's affecting their growth, and a lot of these kids are dying. And what's being done right now? There's a lot of NGOs, a lot of them are in Israel, basically. All you got to do is follow the money. You can go to any newspaper, any Jewish agency event, you have thousands. Oh, these are hungry people here, and these are hungry people here, and these are hungry people there, and follow the money. But if you go to Reuters, almost every single day, you're going to notice that a lot of these NGOs, instead of some very famous ones, are totally corrupt. That the money never gets to the kids who want to be eaten, who needs the food. Because they're all buying fancy cars, and they're going on trips and raising money, but the kids never see the money whatsoever. So basically, how can kin be involved in what we call the ESG, the environmental, social, and economic governance things, to try to make an impact and to monitor the impact and to monetize its impact and to make tokens? Because value is what impacts. So basically, how can we market impact tokens that will statistically measure and value and trade as capital the proof of impact? That there's basically sustainability, that kids are actually getting the food that the government's giving money to and the people in the churches in Norway are giving money to. So basically, and also how can we increase so you guys make a lot more money because there's a lot more kin out there and the value is being raised and a lot more people are spending and buying and receiving and trading kin. So we all go to Bitcoin's funeral. So basically, hold your horses right now, because if you really want the answer, we have the answer right here. We have one of the most brilliant data scientists in Israel, and from Google, the person who taught with Yossi the Android development course, Liora, and basically we came up with an amazing solution. So let's clap on these together. Let's make a drum roll. Keep calm, because impact value is here. Impact value is here because there is no Planet B. Basically, we want to invest in what matters. And what matters is to basically develop a trusted global network that is owned by all of us, okay? that anybody can be creators and anybody can become stakeholders. And basically, we can do with those sustainable development goals that we can basically make it into a valuable digital asset and basically check that impact that it's actually happening, tokenize it. And we can have proof of impact using the Kin coin. So let's all come together. Please, come together and let's empower people everywhere to come together so that everybody can create an amazing, vibrant Kin ecosystem that prioritizes their values and their experiences. Because impact value, together with Kin, empowers sustainable development for all people. And the scope basically is an amazing business model out there, okay? Look at all these millennials out there. They're all interested in the environment. They're all interested in basically in helping other people, all interested in making the world a better place. Basically, a lot of government corporations, they have to connect with the ESG, with the environmental, social, and government things. It's actually become a law in the United States, and investment houses have to go there. It's just asset management firms. There's so many high percentage of people that are already going into investing in ESG. There's over 71% of the businesses want to involve in SDG. There's so many percentages of people that basically says, we want to help the world. If we're already going to invest, we're not going to invest in companies that are going to pollute and exploit the planet and further poverty and exploitation and unemployment and homelessness, but we want to make the world a better place because we want to follow the lead of this amazing foundation called Kin, which basically is out there to make the world a better place. Because if we win, you win. So basically, what we have here is an amazing one more thing, okay? I need to say this. One more thing. I want to bring on Leora and Oren, who have developed not one, but 2 apps to show you how this works, and then I'm going to close it off and show you the ecosystem that we designed.
So I guess...
So this is our part 1, yeah.
I want to hide this. So I can't hide this.
This is the first part of our solution to what Chaim was talking about, which is measuring impact through the UN's ESG ratings. And our first one that we're dealing with is poverty and the lack of food in the world. And we want to track it through with Kin to make sure that the food is getting to who it should. So here's 2 apps. So we can enter, I am the person in need right now. I'm going to sign in. And here we have a Moshe, apparently, today. Thank you. I would like to request a meal for this evening. I've been given Kin from Misrad HaRevacha, Welfare Society. And each day I will be given, if I qualify, 2 Kin points to spend on meals, 2 Kin points per meal. If I have children, of course, that'll be more for each child. And here I'm going to order a meal, request a meal, and it's been sent to our volunteers.
So I'm the volunteer. I've arrived with the meals, and I'm making the delivery. So
well, first he's going to go in and see who he can deliver to, all the people in the area.
So I have a few destinations on my route, and the first one is this one. So
he's arriving at my door. I've received the food, and I'm going to confirm it right now. The delivery has been confirmed, and
I'm getting
our lovely volunteer will get Kin points for it.
Yeah. So
Kin coins.
So I have now 206. Yeah.
Now, also, as somebody that's in need, I can also earn some Kin. I don't have to be just the one who's receiving charity. I can make a referral to somebody. That can be an organization or somebody else's that it's in need, and I just enter their email. Not in Hebrew, but for this purpose, it will work anyway. And then I get my reward for doing that good deed and for broadening the circle
And I'd like just to add another little point. So this is verifying that we're doing whatever we're doing in the real world, but end of the day or end of the month, maybe the Bill Gates Foundation or the the Ministry of Social Work wants to verify what's going on. So each of these transactions has a memo attached to it, which says basically amount of kin transferred and the particular SDG we're talking about. And this allows I would say the investors to see that their investment is being put to good use, and we're going to set up an analytics frameworks for performing that, but that's not so much part of interacting with kin transactions. It's just looking at the blockchain, I guess. So we didn't do it at this particular time. Focus more on the application side.
24.
Okay.
So we're going to try to explain really briefly how the ecosystem works. First of all, I want to thank the amazing staff of Kin, and we basically consulted with everybody in the building and people who came from overseas, and we received amazing input throughout the last day and a half. So we really want to thank them. So basically we have a semantic layer. The semantic layer basically has impact identifiers. And then we also have a transaction layer where basically we have the decentralized impact exchange happening. In addition to that, we have the data storage layer, the data storage layer where all the global impact ledger is residing. And what happens, we have the semantic layer where basically you have impact identifiers. And there's 4 different types of impact identifiers. You have the investment agents, you have the service agents, the recipient agents, and the evaluators. And of course, the evaluation is everybody who gives the money, the investors, etc., or the donors. The service agents are basically Oren, the person who knocks on the door and delivers the food, etc. You have the recipient agents, okay, who get the food, but can also refer and get points. So they're not only receiving, they're getting, so everybody is getting and receiving along the line. And of course, you have the evaluation agents, which is also not only people, but it's also the algorithms that we're setting up. And the impact value system also has a semantic layer and a transaction layer. And the semantic layer basically, we basically coordinates and provides incentives and impact identifiers for all of the people that are involved. So it's the service agents, the investors, etc., etc. And the KQX also has the impact exchanges over here, which is inclusive with the payment, which is where a lot of the impact protocols are happening. The impact tokens are basically being developed. So you go like this. From the semantic layers, you have the funders, you have the evaluators, and you have the deliverers. I'm sorry about the fonts because it's a different computer, which all either fund or evaluate or deliver into the transaction layer. And from the transaction layer, we're going into the data storage layer, where we're going to have the proof of impact. And then, everybody gets kin. Okay? So you have the investment agents, all the people donating money because they're getting their investment back. You have the service agents who basically get it from the recipients because they're actually giving the money. We get it from the recipients who are referring new investment agents or new service agents, which could be their local bakery or a restaurant. And they can also, if they're a recipient, they also have to not only get money, but they're sitting at home and getting money from Bituach Leumi, from the National Insurance Institute. They can also be picked up by the kin truck and be brought here and to make sandwiches for the people who need it, because they're sitting in a wheelchair, but they can still make sandwiches with their hand, and then they can get more kin points to get more kin meals. So the impact identifiers, we're going backwards now? Yeah, okay. So basically, higher usage means a higher demand in the market and a rise in the value of the kin. So all good is you're good. We don't get better unless you get better. And everybody, let's get some kin. Thank you.